down there. Here, right at the edge and straight edge, and I still don't have a brace in here. This is like finger's width away from the nose, and this is 3/4 of a finger's width. Now I'm starting to look at this plastic here, and you can see that it's moving quite a bit, and I know I don't have all the bolts in it, and I took off the other day with a battery charger hooked up and broke that again. So what I'm going to do is take out this headlight like I did this one, and we're going to see what we can do about this eyebrow here, get it sorted out, and then we're going to get back in here and get that where it's supposed to. Now this has got a hump in it right here. Of course, it don't have a bolt in the bottom. So I've got some of these little brackets need to be bent. I've measured everything. This bolt here on the side and the back is approximately exactly the same as this one. So my top brackets are good. So now I have to sort out where the bottom brackets go. I don't remember what it is. I think I have to take the bumper off to get to those bottom brackets. But anyway, first things first, I gotta pull this light out of here and do whatever I gotta do to close this gap up, get that all sorted out. Looks like I chipped my stuff here a little bit, banging on this, trying to get it to move around. But I'll get both of these the same. And once I do that, now that this bumper's real close to where it should be, what I wound up doing on this one, I put 3 big washers in there. I've got some fender shims I ordered, and they came, and I don't know what I did with them. But anyway, I've got this, I put that in there, and that was way too much. So 3 washers pulled that bumper out to real close. And of course I still have to do a little finish Bondo and everything on this, but I'll get this bumper all sorted out. First thing, get that light fixed. Got that off. These things have a 5-mile screw in them, and you can barely turn them. So anyway, I got it off, and I beat this out. I accidentally hit it a little bit right there, kinked that edge. You can look down here. This is part of the fender that's, I think, should be welded to this headlight bucket, and it's got a little crunch right there in it. So I'm just going to take the welder and put a couple tacks in it there, and a little weld up in there, and then I can grind this down and get a nice strong edge. I don't remember what it looked like, but it was something very similar. But I'll put a little weld in it, and that'll make that stronger, because there's no way to make that a permanent fix without welding it, because you just fill it with Bondo and it'll flex. Well, it probably won't flex. It's pretty solid right there, but it'd be much better if it was welded, and that's what I'll do. Weld here on the corner. I'll take a flapper wheel and clean this this up, and then I can move on to seeing what the deal is with this. It looks like it probably had a piece on it that went under this clip here. And I'll figure out something to get that mounted again. Move on. I got you thinking about this. You know, I got good 2 fingers gap here. This is both exactly right, and they're all the way. I tried moving them forward. They won't go forward anymore, mostly because we're going to hit this. So what I did, I just moved this back. You know, it looks like it'll still almost line up. See, now that's 2 fingers, and that over there's 2 fingers. So, worst that would happen is that I'd have to drill me another hole here for this bolt, and I'll have to play with this bracket. But I think that'll solve my whole problem right there, just by relocating that bracket a little bit. And I really can't tell where this one's at until I get it glued. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a little acetone on it and blow it off with an air hose and clean it, and then I can get this all where at least if I try to bend it, it'll all bend in one piece and go the right direction. And that's what I'll do, rather than, this is still a little high, but I don't know what I'll do about that. But I can solve that gap problem in here by just simply re-drilling a hole. So that's what I'll do. I'll just clean this up and glue it and see what happens. Well, I decided that this channel's growing. It's growing faster than it was, but it's growing slow. Mostly because people don't know what I'm doing, so I'll try to explain a little better. I've always been somebody that could fix things. Always. Ever since I was a little kid. It drove my dad crazy. He couldn't leave an alarm clock around because I'd tear it up and try to make a sawmill out of it. My dad owned a sawmill, so and he showed me once how you could use the gear to cut a match, and that was all it took, and I had every alarm clock in the place torn up. A little funny story from my dad. I learned to be a mechanic, you know. I'll copy this into Tom's Tricks as a separate piece, but I'll leave it in this video. So you guys just please like and subscribe. This is a funny story. So anyway, my dad had sawmills, and there was a pile load of trucks and cats and bulldozers and loaders and cranes and heister parts and a couple old junk cars and light plants and diesels and gas. There's a whole giant pile of stuff out there. Well, he used it all in making this sawmill. So I kept begging him for a job. You know, all the men had a job. I didn't have a job. I was about 5 years old, I guess, 4 years old. I wanted a job, and he was the boss, so give me a job. So he laughed. So he gave me a screwdriver. And it was a flat-bladed one. About this long. Pretty big for me. As far as I was concerned, that's all I needed was one tool. So he says, I'll give you 5 cents for every screw you can bring back. I thought, shit, man, there's got to be a million of them, you know. I went out there in the morning when he went to work, you know. And I started trying to find a screw, try to get a screw out. Man, I'm telling you, that was a bitch. I didn't know how to use a screwdriver. Didn't even know what it was for. He didn't show me how it goes in or nothing. Just says here, we'll figure it out. So, but I knew it was a screw. So anyway, I tried everything. I put it in sideways. And I finally get it in, and they were all tight. Everything was out there in the rain. Shit was all rusted, And me, a little old kid, I didn't even know enough to put pressure on it. So anyway, I was out there all morning. Daddy come home for lunch. I went home for lunch, just dragging. They said, "What's the matter?" And I says, "I couldn't get any out." He says, "Well, that's as easy as it looked, is it?" And he says, "Well, deal's a deal." And I said, "Well, I think I'll just play this afternoon." And he says, "No, you got a job. You go to work." So, all right, I dragged my ass out there with my screwdriver. And I just kind of pecked at it, and then I thought, no, God damn it, there's got to be a way to get one of them screws out. The big guys do it, why can't I do it? I'll figure this out. So anyway, I went out there, and I got a screw out. Oh man, you put that thing in a screw where it would hold, and you could turn it. You had to turn it to the left. Figured that one out too, and the screw would come out. So I had the screw out, and then I finally looked around, got another one. So I come back at the end of the day, and I had 2 screws. Man, my allowance was like 10 cents a week or something. I don't even know if I was getting one, but I wanted a job. So anyway, the old man gave me a dime. God damn, a dime, man. I was rich dog, I didn't know what a dime was, but it sure looked good, shiny. So I thought, okay, all right. We'll go back to work tomorrow and see what happens. So we go to work in the morning, and I got my screwdriver. I'm ready to go. Dave says, "You got a can or something?" A can for what? For the screws. Can. Wont, man, I only got 2, and he's talking about a whole can full. I said, "Okay, I'll get a can." Sure enough, man, I went out there, and now I knew how to use a screwdriver, and I'd just, hammer on shit, and pound on the screwdriver with a rock, and do everything, and I got a whole bunch of screws out. Man, I must have had 35, 40 screws, different sizes, They said, "Okay, fine," and gave me whatever the money was. It was just a quarter or something. It was a big one this time. So I was ready to go to work. Next morning, I was up bright and early. Yep, I was going to go out there and make me another quarter. And Dad took my screwdriver away from me, and he gave me a Phillips. He says, "Okay, now, same deal, give you a nickel for every screw." Now when I was trying that Phillips, man, that thing didn't work. I'm telling you, it would work on nothing, I finally figured it out that there was cross screws, some of that stuff. Keep in mind now, we had a whole junkyard full of this stuff, It must have been 20, 30, 40 vehicles and parts and shit out there. I had plenty of room to find a screw. So anyway, I figured it out, and I come back, and I had 3 or 4, and at the end of the day, I had, some in the bucket, and I said, "Okay, fine." He says, "Tomorrow we would try a wrench." I thought, man, I just barely learned the screwdriver. So he gave me a wrench, 1/2-inch wrench, told me to give me a nickel or for every bolt or every nut I could bring back. So the next day he gave me 9/16 and 5/8, and now 5/8 was way too heavy for me. I couldn't turn them, but I should took all them little bolts off. So that's how I learned to be a mechanic, is my dad gave me the tool and an opportunity, and just learned to use it. And one of the things out there, we were 200 miles away from civilization, and if you needed something and you didn't have it, well, you either quit or you made it. Quitting was never an option, not with my dad, for sure. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm looking at this thing and seeing, okay, get it as straight as you can. If you're doing a project, you get it as straight as you can in the major parts, the parts that you're going to be measuring from. And then the foo-foo and the plastic and stuff, you can move it around and adjust it and make it look good. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm not trying to make this perfect, make it fit. In fact, while I was doing this, I was thinking about using some aluminum bars to make my own grill here and make it one for this car. But I think I can get this good enough. Paint it all black and flat black, and it'll look real straight. Nobody will ever notice that screws, 3/8 of an inch too far forward, and it will really make the bottom look straight. So that's part of Tom's tips and tricks, is that, if you don't know how to do this, if you're working on your project and you never take the brakes off, or you never bled a system, or you never try to fix a dent or anything, you never try to start a mower. I keep forgetting, I've done this for so long, I think everybody knows how to start a motor. But they don't, and they're still going, oh wow, fuel there, and spark, compression, and it will run. So I'm trying to just pass these tips along of things that I probably forgot about. But in me, what it is part of me, and what is part of this channel, is I fix things. Keith Fenner, he's a great machinist. He's got this motto, get her done, I wish I had a get her done shirt. But I've got the intention, and I'm able to control my own attention and my own thinking, and control my body and all the tools. Well, that takes a while to learn right there, So a lot of this stuff that are shortcuts, or maybe you didn't even think about it cuts, or somebody told you it was impossible sort of deal. You don't care what somebody thinks, If you listen to everybody else, you wouldn't do anything. So you can't listen to everybody else. You just have to listen to yourself. Take advice if it's advice. They say, well, you probably ought to wear safety glasses or something. Well, that's good advice. It's really good advice, and wait till you get a rock or something in your eye, and then you'll see how good advice it is. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. I'm just making this channel all about fixing stuff. Now, I fix all kinds of stuff. Plumbing, electrical, any kind of construction. But my love is these old classic cars. So anyway, like and subscribe if you will, and we'll continue to chew on this OAMX and bring you a little more content. Yeah, there it is. Looks pretty good. I've got this gap here that I need to fill, and I cleaned this one up. It needed sanding. Got it primed, and this valence is going to look just fine pushed back like that. Looks real good, real straight. So I think what I'm going to do is to me it looks like that valence up a little high right there in the middle. Maybe down a little in the back or something, but it don't look quite right. So I'm going to take that valence out of there completely, and then I'm going to start blue painting it, and I'll blue paint all of this eyebrow, behind the eyebrows, little inside of the fender, but mostly this brace that runs across the top here, that bumper mounts and all that stuff is, and this whole black metal stuff in here. It's got a lot of little brackets, so I'm going to pull all those brackets out along with the grill, and I'm going to paint them all gloss black, and they'll look real good against the blue. So I can just start here at the front of the car, really, and yeah, so all this in here, all this top of the radiator core support, inside of the fenders here. I got some bolts to put in there, and I can probably even clean up and for sure do this piece here. I can pull the battery out, some of this other stuff, paint this up. But for now, I can just paint all this front and finish up that cross member down there and paint it too. And that way I can do I can get my little gun and get all the inside edges and everything, and then I'll work on the next thing would be the doors. I can use my little gun in here and I can blow all this out and reach in there with some sandpaper and wash it or whatever. Get a lot of that out of there. I've been thinking, you know, these things are a few $100, but you know, it would really be nice if I could take these out now and paint it instead of trying to mess around it. Well, maybe I can even take the old one out to paint it. Maybe put it back in. At least in the front. Back here and back, I don't care really if it's masked. That paint will go down in there pretty deep. This won't take too long to clean up, and then I can do the doors so you know I won't get paint everywhere. Get them all blue on both sides. Probably at the same time try to, since I got the paint going, I'm in any area, paint this stuff up close to the window where I'm having to spray up and stuff. Try to paint all this. And then after that, still with little paint, I'll turn it around and I'll go ahead and paint all of the inside of this trunk here with the blue. I need to work on that trunk. It looks like it's up too high over here for some reason. Yeah, it could still be latches not real tight. That's probably because of the rubber. So I'll finish that. And while I got the little gun, I'll try to get around here inside of the window. Try to do all these edges and corners, and try to maybe shoot down in here inside the rib rail, do the windows, and then, you know, fix anything that I've got. That way when I paint the whole car, it's really good. And then next part of the project here, I've got to pull that out. It looks like a mess, but really there's only like 1-2 bolts there holding the wiring harness. There's 3 screws here in the windshield wiper. It looks like 2 wire clamps and a windshield washer over there, another 3 or 4 bolts. Basically all of that wires and everything will come back out of the way so I can paint at least down to the top of the motor. And I can pull these hoses off of here, and you know, it won't be as much work. It looks like a lot, but when you actually start looking at it, I can paint that pretty well, fairly deep around the motor. You know, it'd be best, of course, if I had the motor out, but and I can probably work it around back there behind the master cylinder, and I can paint pretty deep down in there. So And then I'll get this engine compartment blue while I'm, using the little gun and doing all this stuff here. And that way when I close the hood and I go to paint the whole car, overspray down in between the cracks and stuff like that. You never see it, it's blue over blue. So we're getting pretty close. I was really pleased the way this bumper turned out. I started patching up this fender here with fiberglass. It's much stronger than Bondo. So I just shape it with a rasp and get my eyebrow up there. I forgot I filled the hole that the pin goes in, so I gotta find that and drill it out. Well, that's whittled down pretty good. Got a little gap in it still, but looks like everything's gonna match. So what I need to do now is bolt this down and use my glazing putty and fill that up, and then mount it good, and then I can sand this so it all has the same appearance. It looks like it's real close. It's going to bend a little. Looks like this might be a little high right here. I might whack that just a little right in that corner. I'd probably be better off not doing that and just fill that all up across there. Anyway, I'll try to get it bolted on again. It's got studs in it. They're a couple inches long, and you can just barely get a wrench in there and turn it about 1/8 of a turn. So it's a little bit hard to mount these things. I don't know if I want to how exactly I want to do this. I think I'm going to fill this up with glazing putty, put a piece of tape on the edge of this lip, and then just squash it in there, and that'll do a good job on the bottom of this. I fill my cracks up in here, and then once that dries, I can worry about getting the join lines perfect. It's all mounted on, and I put a little glazing putty on it. Looks pretty good. I'll let this harden up good, sand it off. This is bolted pretty solid right now, so this will give me an idea what I need to do. And I should have fixed this one, but my putty hardened up on me. It's still pretty good. I need to clean it up a little. Anyway, I'll let her dry and see what happens. After looking at this a while, I decided there wasn't very much advantage in leaving a gap in here, and there's a lot more work, so I've just bondoed and spot puttied these extensions right onto the fender. So I think this will be alright. The sides look pretty good. And any advantage I might have gained, I'm getting a little paint in there. It's gonna be outweighed by trying to match a painted surface to a painted surface, so they're pretty strong, so that should be good enough to not crack. They got 3 bolts in them and they're pretty much glued together with that Bondo, and this will make it look real nice. Slight custom effect. Now I gotta get in here and get me some bolts in my braces. Dropped a bit there. And get this all bolted in. This lip is moving a little. It needs to have a bolt right down in here. So I think I'm good on this top part. I'll go ahead and start bolting the sheet metal together and drop this bumper down, and I'll finish up the rest of this valence and stuff in here. Move along. Here it is, all finished with glazing putty and sanded. Looks good and straight. So I got a little more right there, but just touch this up a little with hand sanding, then I can prime it, see what I got. I kind of sanded on this area here, cleaned it up a little, sand a little down there on my bumper, and I laid on my back and kind of cleaned up that place there. Looks like I kind of banged my radiator up a little doing it. Well, next thing I'm going to put my brace in here and bolt that fender down, and time to shoot a little primer on it. Well, I found a few more bad spots here on this cross member. It really wasn't welded good here, so I poured some weld in it, and this was all bent, and so I kind of straightened it out. It's pushed up, but I'm going to put some Bondo in it, but I've cleaned this all up and welded it good top and bottom, so I'm sure that'll hold well. And now I'm just going to put some Bondo in it, because you will be able to see this, and it's got a caved in spot right here. Horn goes there, but I'm going to fill this and fill the bottom with some Bondo, and that should make it look a lot better. Now there's my grill in. I just spray painted it primer black. I'm looking here, I've got about 3/4 of an inch, about 3/4 of an inch here. I can move this around. This is all glued back together good. So the grill looks pretty good like that. Really can't see it with the hood closed, but it looks pretty flat, and I've got that all bundled up down there. So I think it's going to be good enough. This is all finished, and I'll work on my bumper brackets here tomorrow. Kind of starting to get dark, so that's going to be it for today. So I've got that bumper mounted real good there. I've got all of the brackets in and mounted, tightened up. Got my eyebrows bundled up. Everything welded. Starting to look real straight. Well, it looks like I've got a little hood sticking out here. Flush here. I don't know if I can. Yeah, I could probably still move this hood back a little. Well, we'll do the best we can on this. The main thing is I'm trying to get this valance in there and straight. And it looks pretty good. That AMX shows up nice in there. Good enough. Tomorrow I'll get it all finalized, bolted down and straight, and get holes bored in it if I need them, whatever. And then I'll be able to paint this front part blue, so that'll start my paint job. I'll get it all painted blue and put this valance back, and we'll see what's happening from that point. But so far I'm pretty pleased with it. Looks like it's going to be just fine. So like and subscribe. Help me support the channel, and I'll try to move on these things. I've got like a 54 Dodge pickup truck that doesn't have a motor and transmission in it. I'll probably be doing that shortly. But for now, here's Mr. AMX done for the day.